Hi, it's Chrissy's Corner for Collectors, and it's been a hot minute since I put a video up. But it's Sunday, had a sale this morning with Caroline, Young Star Girl, and Gigi, and went out for a little bit of sourcing, and now I'm gonna prepare something that I'll use for the rest of the week, and probably freeze too. So if you ask me what my specialty is, I'm not a baker, and we don't really, really eat some sweets, but I don't really eat a lot of sweets. I can cook just about anything, but my specialty is soup. I'm good at it and I like it. Here's the thing. I have a favorite soup, Pasta Fazooli. Some people call it Pasta Fazooli. It just depends. I've always called it Fazool. That's what I know. I don't remember my grandmother making this up. She probably did, but I don't remember it. And maybe because I was a kid, I didn't really want to eat it. The thing about soups is they're economical, they can really fill you up, and they're great to freeze and put away. So they're easy to grab out of the freezer, to go to work, pop it in the microwave, you're done. And this is a hearty soup. Now some people will call it a stew. I don't think it's a stew. For me, a stew is chunkier and a little thicker gravy. This is not going to be that way. So what I've done is I've prepped everything for you, and I'll show you that in a second. It literally took me 10 minutes, not including the macaroni, which is still boiling, but it took me 10 minutes to prep everything for you. In the end, it'll save me with cooking because everything's done, and I can time everything out perfectly. So, let's get started. Okay, so again, I told you I prepped everything, but let me tell you what we're using. We have chicken stock. We have some of my homemade turkey stock from last Thanksgiving. We have diced tomatoes with garlic and herb already done. I'm not dicing them, that's already done. To have 2 cans of that. I have 2 cups of diced zucchini, I'll explain that. Some spices, Italian sweet sausage, onions, celery, tomato paste. I use white and light red beans, some parsley, and then I'll show you the other part in a second. So again, I prepared everything. For soup, for me, what's really important is layering. And if that doesn't make sense to you, like how do you layer a soup? I'm gonna show you how I layer a soup. Used to be, you would just throw everything in the big pot. The chicken, the carrots, I don't do it that way. It takes a little bit more time, but I think the flavor is there. So what I got started is, the back burner is my big soup pot, okay? It's a very big soup pot because I want room for this to cook. In there, I put 2 cups of water and some salt and pepper. That's all that's in there. So I'm gonna get started by putting all the broth in there. So I'm putting the 1 big carton of broth, and that's gonna get to simmering here in a second. And then my small container of turkey. You can use a beef stock. I don't. I like the chicken because I don't like this to be a heavy soup. I like it to be light. So that's why I use that. And there's my turkey stock. In you go. Okay. So that's the first level. We've got the broth going. It's simmering. And I'm going to add the tomatoes to that too. So all that juice is in there. Okay? So both cans of tomatoes will go right in there. Perfect. And what I know is going to take the longest to cook here is the zucchini. So I'm going to put 2 cups of the zucchini in there and let it start simmering to get soft. So 2 cups of the zucchini, and I didn't dice them small. I kind of chunked them because I don't want them to get lost. So, okay, zucchini's in. And that can start cooking, and I can leave that alone and concentrate on the next thing. Now, the tomatoes have garlic and oregano in them already. So I don't want to overdo spices because remember, you've heard it 1,000 times, you can't take away, but you can add. So here I have some oregano and some red chili flakes, a tiny, tiny bit. And I'm going to throw those in there. I also have been dehydrating some parsley. So I'm going to get some parsley in my hands. It's already dry because I'm in Arizona and it's dry as heck here. And I'm gonna just grind it a little bit. And throw parsley. I'm gonna get a little bit more parsley. And where did the parsley come from? No, it's not in my garden, but when I use fresh herbs, whatever's left that I don't use, I dry it so that I have it for later on. So again, I'm gonna crush it in my hand. And stick it in the pot. All right, now we're gonna talk about layering. So the one time, I've had Pasta Fazooli at many different restaurants, and they're all just slightly different. That's why zucchini's going in mine. You don't usually see zucchini because that's kind of bordering on minestrone, but I like a little bit of just a green, something green in there. So I put the zucchini in there for me. You'll see many recipes will never even say that. So the next thing I want to do is I want to put my beans in, but I want to show you what I did a little bit different. So I went to a restaurant one time and ordered Pasta Fazooli, and it came out and it looked very creamy, and I was a little disappointed because I thought, oh gosh, did they put cream in that? Because that's gonna make it heavy, and I don't want heavy. Come to find out, because we had gone to the same restaurant a while and we got to talking, what they did was they have 2 cans of regular beans, and, well, I'm saying 2 cans, they probably made it bigger. Then they took a half a can and smashed the beans up. And that created this silky, creamy look to it. I don't mash them totally down, but they're down enough. So they're gonna go in, mashed up, and that'll give it that creaminess. And then my 2 cans of beans. All right, so far, so good. Yeah, they're beans. Already my pot is halfway filled. So now is the layering part. So I have sweet Italian sausage, and I have pancetta. I like the pancetta instead of bacon because I don't want this to taste smoky. And I have the celery and onions that are left. All right, let me get my pan started. Okay, so I've got a little bit of butter in my cast iron. I like my cast iron. I don't know why, I think it cooks evenly, and I like it. So it's warming up, and while that's warming up, I have some tomato paste. I'm gonna put about 2 teaspoons in my big pot. So what do I do with the rest of it? That doesn't go bad. Well, I might add some more depending on the taste, but the rest of it I put in a freezer bag and put it in the freezer. I have some in there, but I didn't defrost it in time, so. All right, we're gonna start leveling with the pancetta first. Now, the butter's kind of sizzling a little bit. So oh, that ain't good. Shoot, that's my favorite one. Okay. So I'm gonna grab the pancetta and I'm gonna render that down in the pan. So could I have put it right into the pot? Yeah, but I want this fat in here because that's what I'm gonna cook my onions and my celery in. So I got a little bit of butter, pancetta's rendering down. The water is just about ready for the ditallinis. I use ditalini in my pasta fazooli. Now mine won't look like that. There's carrots in there. But it's kind of the same thing. Ditallinis are great. So you can hear that sizzling, and all that fat is getting rendered into the pan. And then I'll cook my onions and celery in that, and that gives it that extra little kick. Also, I think I did say this, but salt and water is in the soup pot. So how long will it take? I'll probably, once it gets to a little bit of a slow boil, probably cook it for about 2 hours, just so everything is nice and tender. I'm not putting the sausage in here yet because I want to make sure this pancetta really cooks down. So I want to be able to see it. It smells great. Sorry about the doorbell. Billy's moving stuff in and out, and we have a Ring camera. So, all right. Everything is just going perfectly. I've got 1 cup of celery. I've got 1 cup of diced onions. You can use more or less, whatever you like. And again, you do whatever you want. If you want to add some carrots to it, you can, but again, it starts to teeter on minestrone, and there is a difference. People might not believe it, but oh, it smells good. Okay, so you can see there's fat going on in there, and that's going to be perfect. And I might just turn it down a little bit. Again, the cast iron is a great heat source, so once it's heated up, it'll keep cooking in there. Ding dong, Avon. Now, the sausage, I usually use 2 sausages and break it up. But nobody was at the meat counter today. And of all days, a holiday. And so I thought, I'm not waiting around here because I want to get home. And so I just went and bought this. But I figure, you know what, since I got it and I'm cooking it, I'll just put the whole thing in. It'll just be a little heartier. Again, not a stew, just heartier. I don't have my apron on, which is probably going to be a big mistake. So, here's what I'm going to do. The pancetta is cooked down. I don't want it to burn. And so, I'm getting a spatula that has things in it. And I'm going to scoop that out. One really nice thing about this glass oven top, easy to clean, so stuff that doesn't fall down in the burners. I terribly, terribly miss my gas stove, but I'm learning this. I'm learning this. Okay. Now, there's fat in there, right? When I put the sausage in, there's going to be even more fat. But again, there's that layering. If you want it spicier, use hot Italian sausage. We don't really like it that spicy. That's why I only have just a tiny bit. Okay, here goes the sausage. My pan is getting pretty hot. So get in there, sausage. Melt it down. Okay, and with the sausage, I like to break it up as I cook it so it's not big pieces. And with cast iron, it's forgiving. A non-stick or Teflon one, you'll scrape it. So with this, I can be rough as I want, and it's not going to hurt it at all. There's something you can buy at through Pampered Chef that breaks up your meat as you're cooking it. I can't deal with too many gadgets in my kitchen. That's why I'm kind of like forcing myself not to use the air fryer. But Billy loves the air fryer. So, and it's quick for him during the week when he's home here eating by himself, and he can make a quick meal or heat something up really good. All right, so I'm going to continue cooking this down, and then I'll be back. Okay, so the sausage is done, and I'm going to transfer it over, leaving all the fat there, right? Remember, we're going to layer. So that's going. Now, the macaroni, I am going to pre-cook the macaroni, but I'm not going to put it into the pot of soup right away because I want the soup to render down for about an hour. And if I put the pasta in it, it'll get mushy. So I don't want that to happen. I'm also not going to cook the drooling all the way. They're going to be a little bit al dente. So this way, when it does cook in the pot for that hour, they'll pick up some flavor from the broth and all of that. And so that'll be good. So all of this sausage. And now all of that pancetta fat and sausage fat is still in here. I'm not going to put all the fat in there, but I am going to cook the celery and the onions in it. And I'm going to show you that right now. There's a lot of salt. Okay, 1 cup of onion, 1 cup celery. Look how easy that is because you prep it, right? And so, yeah, you have to rinse these out, but you can do it. Celery leaves. People like to cut those off. I love celery leaves. I think it gives a little bit of extra flavor, and I just like it. So we're going to render down the celery and the onions, making sure not to burn them. Let them pick up all that wonderful, wonderful flavor from the sausage and the pancetta. And my ditallinis are going. They're probably going to be ready in about a minute. And then I'm going to give my soup a little stir. And it looks good. All right, so everybody's happy. Everybody's cooking. And then when the celery and onion is done, I will transfer it to the big pot. I'll let it cook down for an hour, and then I'll show you what the progress is. But you don't need to watch it all cook. You've got better things to do. So go do those better things while I finish this up. Okay, it's been 1 hour. Now, some of the zucchini chunks that were a little bit bigger have not quite cooked all the way down yet. That's fine. But can you see the consistency? It's getting a little thicker as it's reducing, but it's not like a stew. 2 things I did add right now: a tablespoon of garlic and 1 bay leaf. You don't have to add the bay leaf. It actually tasted perfectly fine without it, but I just thought maybe it needed a little bit. I've already cooked my ditallinis. They're not all the way cooked, so they're going in here next. So of course they're stuck together. They're getting unstuck, but hopefully I'm not gonna get this all over the kitchen floor. I mopped and swept today. So we'll see. Okay, here we go. Don't splash, don't splash. Ah, my goodness, look at that. Oh gosh, look at that. Okay, so it's gonna cook down another probably 45 minutes until all the zucchini are not floating anymore, and most of them are gone, but there's still a couple still. And the ditalini will get cooked just a little bit more, and it'll get even a little bit more thicker. Now you can see it's a very slow boil. In fact, you might not, it's so slow you probably can't see it. So I have it at 6, and I don't want to burn it, so I'm going to keep giving it a little stir every so often. But it looks really good. Now, if you did want to thicken it a little bit, you probably could add a little cornstarch or flour to some water, or take some of this broth out. But I don't think we need it. The ditalini, I don't rinse them, so there's going to be some starch from them that'll go in here too, and plus they'll continue cooking. So I think it'll get a little thicker. Actually, I don't really want it too much thicker. I think it's perfect because remember, it's a soup, it's not a stew. But all right, we'll check back. All right, you ready? It smells amazing. So you can see it's reduced a little bit more. The ditallinis have gotten a little bit bigger. I'm gonna get myself a nice scoop into my dish, and you can see the broth is thick, but it's not like over thick. All right, now there's my soup. I got a big old chunk of bread. Yes, you have to do that. And Parmesan cheese. So we're gonna sprinkle some of that on there. And it's real cheese. This isn't the canned cheese, which is cheaper, I know, but it's not the same. Okay, I'm ready. Ready? Okay. Some little cheese, bean. It's very hot. Oh, it's perfect. And we really didn't have to season it that much because the seasonings were in the tomato. And it's hot. You can taste the sausage. You can taste the spices, the tomatoes. It turned out perfect. Thank you guys for watching. I'm gonna go eat this right now and let the rest of it cool so I can start putting it in freezer bags for lunches. Excellent.